I know approximately 5,000 people-ish
Okay.
who I can identify and name. 2 of them aren't on TikTok.
That's it.
You and my father. Everyone else is on TikTok.
It's great company.
That's it. It's just you and my dad. You and Santa Claus and Willie Nelson had a fucking baby, but the only people that aren't on TikTok.
And your dad is thinking about getting more active.
I was totally. I was somewhere and I was at like some event and it was like I made some reference to my dad being here and like, oh, your dad's here? I was like, yeah. Looks like Santa Claus and Willie Nelson had a baby.
Totally.
Quiet, please.
And I just went about the rest of my day and he came back like 2 hours later. He's like, oh my God.
Found your dad.
I totally saw your dad. I figured it out. from Santa Claus and Willie Nelson had a baby. And if you've met my father, you'll totally appreciate why. He's got the Santa Claus beard
In
and the
4,
Willie Nelson hair.
3,
It's really great.
2.
The Apple Company presents a truly terrible podcast. Welcome to Nonsense Season 2, Episode 12. I'm Jeff Parker.
I'm Steel.
This is our take on the week's business, tech, and entertainment headlines. This time, we'll look at eclipses or eclipsi, or I don't know what the plural of eclipse is.
When Mitsubishi stopped making them, I stopped following them.
It's Major League Baseball opening day, and I'm baseball crazy for reasons I'll mention later. You're snoring.
Yeah, I fell asleep as soon as you said baseball opening day. I'm sorry. What did you say after that?
I don't think I got through the word baseball when you fell asleep.
Look, they've got the shot clock now, or whatever the fuck they call it, and I think that's made it infinitely better for me. But it's
The
still
shot clock is the pitch clock.
Okay.
Yes, in basketball, they have the shot clock.
that comes between the second and third quarter. When do they put the shot clock in?
The first Major League Baseball game ever was played on April 22nd, 1876.
And do you have fond memories of that game, or were you in like shitty seats?
William Howard Half threw out the first pitch at the home opener in D.C. in 1910, making him the first president to throw out a first pitch.
And that was the first game that streamed on Bally Sports. Is that correct?
In 1950, the St. Louis Cardinals became the first MLB team to open their season with a night game.
Why is that? Did they not like have the light bulb until 1950?
Lighting in baseball happened probably mostly not for every park.
But in the 1950s, was it still all black and white?
Well, television would have been, yeah.
Oh, I thought in real life.
Real life was black and white?
You mean it was just the TVs that were black and white?
Shocking.
Calvin and Hobbes have been lying to me the whole time?
In 2014, Budweiser and Ozzie Smith started a petition to make opening day a national holiday.
How did that go?
We don't take a day off to vote.
I know.
Get in
I know.
line, baseball.
Right.
You're not going to be
Totally.
hitting your national holiday anytime soon. How's your week going?
It's good. I have no real complaints. I am, as you know, I'm a super nerd. So what I get excited about is I'm in process of recovering my entire fleet of Microsoft Natural Ergonomic 4000 keyboards. Do you know these?
Oh, no. This
Yeah,
is
yeah.
not super nerd. This is beyond super
Yeah,
nerd.
yeah, totally. No, this is my life.
This is a level of super nerd. I can't even believe.
We're going to talk on this show sometime about my switch to Dvorak. I switched to Dvorak like 25 years ago. Best decision I've ever made when it comes to computing. Yeah. And I got serious about ergonomics and got one of the early Microsoft Natural keyboards. They're the best keyboards ever made. Like I wish they were mechanical.
They don't make them anymore, do they?
They don't make them anymore. So I've just like collected them over the years. And then normally what wears off, like the keycaps wear off, but I don't care because I know where all the keys are. But like the pads, the wrist pads wear down. It looks terrible. I mean, it looks like a homeless encampment at my desk. So I found some dude, this like weirdo on Reddit who's like a fellow
fanatic
Microsoft keyboard collector. And he's like, well, I started restoring these. Now, fortunately, me being the hoarder, the electronics hoarder that I am, I haven't thrown any of them away.
Okay.
And he just ordered some some stick-on shitty vinyl that looks like leather from AliExpress for $5, and he's recovered them.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so I'm in process of taking them all apart, and I got to say, these keyboards are really well made for 25 years old. Like
I had the old original IBM PC keyboard that I hung on to for a long time.
Clickety-clack, yeah.
That was a really nice keyboard.
Of course.
The computer was awful, but the keyboard was fantastic.
With the old, the mini DIN, whatever, the 5-pin mini DIN.
Yeah.
Folks have made like Arduino adapters to make those USB compatible. I mean,
Oh,
so
that's
I've
amazing.
heard.
That's cool.
Not that I read about this shit at night at 2 a.m. when I can't sleep.
I didn't keep mine. It was heavier than my computer
I
is
know,
now. The entire computer.
Because they melted down half a battleship to make the fucking thing. Like,
Exactly.
just after the war, like we got all this steel. What do we do with it?
Man, did those keys feel
Yeah.
good. That thing was so great to type
There's
on.
a whole subculture of mechanical keyboard users that are great, and I love the feel of mechanical keys. I don't like the maintenance. You have to you're greasing them constantly. You're doing all this shit to keep them perfect.
Sure.
There's no good ergo options, and I'm just like, eh. And so you get the weird Kinesis keyboards where one hand is off to the left a foot and the right hand is up in the air, and it's like you're riding a fucking motorcycle with monkey bars on it. It's just crazy. So all my shit from AliExpress is here. I've taken them apart. To my knowledge, I have not lost any parts yet.
Yeah.
Although my oldest son was helping me with one of these.
Yeah.
And I literally, this is true. I said, okay, buddy, put all these screws onto the magnet, okay, in individual piles. So they're, they stay, because they're all different sizes. He just fucking swoops them all up into his hand and drops them on the magnet. I'm like, all right, dude, you're not helping me anymore. And he just looked at me, the poor kid with his innocence. He just looked at me, he was like, what? And I was like, you don't mix them all together. You put them into separate piles. Anyway, so I now would like to see if you could out-nerd me.
No question. You set a high bar.
Because I don't think you can. I think that is the nerdiest thing you're going to hear all day.
I'm going out of town. I'm going to away on a little short vacation.
Yeah.
But it's such a short vacation that I'm not going to have a dog sitter come. My son is going to be here at the house.
Okay.
I want him to feed the dog, but he's 17.
Sure, like in between the parties or like after the party?
I don't care. He can have all the parties he wants
Okay.
so long as the dog is fed. It's the one thing I care about at the house. Make sure the dog is fed and cared for. To try to make this more interesting and entertaining for him, I have put in a webcam over the dog bowl.
Welcome to 1999, I guess?
So sure. So no matter where he is, he can look and see if the dog bowl has food in it or not. Anything I can think of to make this more interesting or entertaining for him so that the dog bowl is full.
So wait, are you telling me Barkley has like an iPhone SE and he can just be sitting somewhere else in the house and he can just look at it to see, bowl's full. All right, I'm good.
I was thinking my son, yes, but Barkley as well.
Barkley. Okay, I see.
Barkley has a Pro Max.
All right. He likes the bigger phones. It's easier for him to carry.
He's not an animal.
Yeah, no, of course not. No, he also likes inferior products. So you put a camera on your dog bowl. This is your accomplishment.
The great thing was I was at the Dodger game and I was sitting next to my friend Vanessa.
Was she awake?
Who I know is super into her dogs too.
Okay.
And so I pull out my phone and I'm going to show her.
You're going to show her your nerdy dog bowl.
I'm going to show her my dog bowl cam, right? The dog food bowl cam.
Poor Vanessa.
And so I pull out my phone and I said, Vanessa, have you ever thought about putting like a webcam for your dog stuff?
Yeah.
And before I can show her mine, she pulls out her phone. She goes, oh yeah, I've got 6 of them. She has 6 cameras for all the different places her dogs can go in the house. And I very kind of quietly put my phone back in my pocket.
Back? Did she show you the 360 cam that she's got mounted to the dog's head? And there's like a one of those FLIR forward-looking infrared cams.
Exactly.
Yeah. Don't you like when you get out-nerded? Yeah,
I just felt like an idiot.
That's always great when that happens. I'll meet some rando in public talking about barbecue and I'll be like, well, I have all the big green eggs. And then the motherfucker will show me his like 1,000 gallon offset. And I'm like, I'm going to just go over here and cry because you clearly know what the fuck you're doing. And I'm like on like a Sony My First Barbecue.
I shouldn't be talking to you. Shall we get to our headlines?
Yeah, there's really only one thing we're talking about today, I think, isn't there?
There's a couple other things we could talk about, but this is really the interesting one. U.S. versus Apple, the lawsuit that the DOJ...
Where they want Apple to be more controlling, right? They want Apple to restrict more.
Give them a little more support, yes.
They're disappointed they only made a building out of a ring. They want to make a sphere. They want them to have a sphere building and a $200 trillion market cap.
I have a feeling neither you nor I have much opinion about this case.
Yes. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're both going to be Switzerland on this one. Totally neutral.
The DOJ describes a sweeping arc of behaviors by Apple, arguing it adds up to a pattern of illegal monopoly maintenance. Rather than focusing on 2 or 3 illegal acts, the complaint alleges that Apple engages in a pattern of behaviors that further entrench customers into their ecosystem and make it harder to switch, even in the face of higher prices and degraded quality.
I just know that we're going to be fighting by the end of this headline. So.
Mom and Dad won't always be fighting.
I'm pretty sure.
Eventually they get their own shows.
I'm pretty sure we're sleeping in separate bedrooms after this, but let's just go ahead and see what happens.
Tell me what you think of this suit. Just broadly, tell me what your thoughts are.
I feel like it was written by someone who doesn't really understand technology.
I thought that too, and I've read it again. Now my opinion is it's someone who really understands technology and more importantly, understands judges.
Interesting.
And they've written it so the judge can understand
They wrote it for the audience? Okay, I could buy that.
I didn't find anything that was actually untrue. It all seemed factual to me, but it did feel like you're making this into a children's story. And then I kind of went, oh, wait a minute. I know what they're doing.
You kind of need to. Yeah, I guess it's a fair point. I mean,
I get it.
All right, so maybe those fine folks at the DOJ are smarter than I thought. Please don't cancel us.
Back up on what basically antitrust is. It has 2 prongs historically.
Yep.
Do your actions harm consumers? Do your actions harm competition?
Is the product too good?
Not necessarily too good. You can make a great product, but you can't use your dominance in one area to gain dominance in another. That's basically what it comes down to.
Need better joke writers. Everybody talks about Microsoft. The classic antitrust case is Standard Oil, right? Where they had like 90% dominance of like the production.
I think that was like the first big one. I think that was like the real,
like Rockefeller owned everything. He owned the railroads. He owned the oil.
He was trying to use oil to leverage his way into his dominance in
Seems
oil.
like he was, right? Like I'm going to make the rates lower for me to ship oil into this area and you're going to pay more. So you just can't compete with me. We're going to lower prices when we sell it to push you out of the market. And I still struggle with it. I'm just not, I would not call myself learned at all on antitrust.
No, neither of us are lawyers. Neither of us are any trust
Yeah, but you know this
experts.
more than I do because I still look at this stuff and I go, fuck, this just feels like good business. It just feels like...
Well, you cross that line if you use your one area of dominance to gain dominance in another area. That's when I say dominant, that's a funny word. Everybody thinks that means you have 90%, because Standard Oil is the example. You have 90% of the business. You don't.
I thought you were in the dominant position if you were the guy in the relationship wearing the leather. Like this is sort of what the EU called the DMA the gatekeepers, right? Like you're this of some massive size. Okay, I get that.
And interestingly enough, in the complaint, the DOJ used a phrase I'd never heard before. They have this phrase they've coined called the performance smartphone market.
Oh yeah.
I think what they mean is flagship, right? It's something like that.
Yeah.
If I were AT&T and all of a sudden I thought, you know what, I'm gonna gain some market share here. I'm gonna make it so calls outside of my network sound kind of staticky.
Okay.
Calls within my network, they sound crystal clear. They sound amazing.
Yeah, you better get on that network.
Right. And then my attitude is, somebody complains about how they call their mother and they just have all this static, and my response is, oh, no, get your mom on AT&T.
Okay, I get
that's a problem.
I get if you're making it worse for the competition. I understand that.
The big issue here is not making it worse for the competition. I made it worse for my own customers, and that's a cardinal sin.
Sure, I understand that. I do understand that. But I'm saying there's a difference between making it worse for the competition versus making it better for you. Those are different things.
Of course. I'm not even talking about the competition at all. I'm literally talking about the cardinal sin here is making it worse for your customer to help you gain dominance.
Okay, so the DOJ has decided that Apple needs some scrutiny. Am I understanding this correctly?
Well, they've decided Google does too. They've decided Amazon does too. But yes, Apple is the latest in the list.
They're starting with Apple, sure.
No, they didn't start with Apple. I think they started with Amazon, then they went to Google. They're walking their way through the high-tech supermarket. They're picking brands one at a time off the shelf.
Is there a non-tech analog we can talk about? Like I always just go to Standard Oil because that's the one.
That's the big one. That's
right.
The big one.
Now I get breaking up oil because fucking oil is oil. Like there's not a lot of innovation that happens. So you want it to be a competitive market. You don't want driving out competition so you can drive the price up. I get that.
I could not think you could be more wrong with that sentence.
Okay. I'm sure I am. Please tell me how.
Standard Oil became Standard Oil because they did oil better.
Okay.
Kerosene and gasoline were what you bought from one company was not what you bought from another company. The reason it's called Standard Oil is because we're going to make this thing,
Standard.
we're going to make it the same no matter what.
Does what it says on the tin, huh?
Precisely. And that's why it's called Standard Oil. So
they were going to call it random fucking oil, but instead they're like, it doesn't roll off the tongue. Let's go with Standard Oil.
And Standard Oil did that when no one else was doing it. So Standard Oil made the world better by making oil standard.
But then at some point you say, well, look, you're too big. You're using these practices to sort of unfairly gain advantage over your competition, right? Because he owned the railways, he owned oil. Yeah. There seems to be some cap. When you're a large-scale service, there is some percentage that when you cross over that, you start to look a little too big.
More importantly, I think, is when you become fundamental to everyone's life.
Yeah,
when you're like indisposable. I always use the example, my dad uses his phone to do his banking. My son can't get his grades without a smartphone.
Sure.
I have to have a smartphone to get into the Dodger
You use your car to drive to all of those places. Oil, right? Like same thing. Like,
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That's when you sort of cross that threshold of now we're not talking about just any device that you can run however you want to run.
Yeah, sure. Okay. I appreciate that. Is there a better analog to sort of cover what Apple's doing here with the DOJ? Or am I just...
It's so different because tech is so different. We have so little regulation over tech broadly.
Well, so little regulation.
There's literally one regulation, which is called 230.
Yeah.
And it really actually just makes the big tech companies not responsible for, not liable for things they do.
But the point I was trying to make is like with oil, especially once you standardize it, like it's kind of the same process. Like you can refine it and you could make that process better.
They brought a very valuable service to the...
Do you presume that that's what we're going to see here? That you're going to see now more regulation around tech as an output of this?
Yeah, because you can't compete with Amazon. I think it's impossible to compete with Amazon basically. So that's going to change the world.
I don't know, man. I buy all my stuff from Walden Books. I just break out my Ouija board and phone them up.
The moment Amazon crossed that threshold for most people was when they joined Amazon Prime and they got suddenly free shipping. And I think that changed the world for everybody who joined.
Oh, it absolutely changed the world for everybody. I mean, still to this day, I look at products and I'm like, I got to pay you $6 to ship that to me. Really?
And also, you're going to send it to me in what, 5 days?
5
really?
days? I don't have that kind of time. I might be dead by then. I need this shit tomorrow by 4 a.m.
Right. So I think tech companies are going to have a whole different kind of regulation that never existed before.
Yeah.
They have to because what they do is different.
Do you feel like that's going to go well?
It can't go worse. Yeah.
I think it could go worse.
The current generation of executives at all the big tech firms, likely before this suit is settled, will all be retired.
Yeah, totally.
This lawsuit is going to go on for so long.
Yeah.
This lawsuit will end when the sun, the moon, and the earth align perfectly.
Oh my God.
That's how long this is going
I
to take.
agree with you, and I have extremely good news.
What's that?
It's coming next week. Do you know what an Umbraphile is?
I don't. Something that Oprah puts out.
Yes, Oprah is known.
Oprah and Umbra together again.
The Harpophiles.
A David Letterman joke that just died at the Oscars.
What was it? I don't even remember.
He came out and he thought it would be funny to introduce Oprah and Uma Thurman.
I remember this.
Oprah, Uma,
Yeah,
Oprah. And it was hilarious,
Oprah.
but it was just...
They've met before, Dave. Okay, Umbraphile, not Umbra. Do you know what Umbra is? Umbra is this like newish word that you hear a lot.
I don't hear it at all. This is the first time
Really?
I've ever heard it. Yeah.
My wife taught me this word. Umbre it's a French word for shaded. So like there's like a hair color that's called umbre, and it's like dark at the top and light at the bottom, I think. My translation is gradient. It's just, but I don't think they want to walk around calling themselves gradient.
So I have gradient colored hair?
Gradient colored hair.
Does any of that look even vaguely like
umbre.
natural? Like a human would have gradient colored hair?
I think, I guess, I don't know. Like it bleaches as it gets longer. Okay. I don't know what people do. I live in a box. So umbre is French for shaded. Umbra is the Latin word for shadow.
Okay.
So umbraphile, umbra is shadow. What do you think an umbraphile is?
They love throwing shade on the Twitter.
That's what I was going to say. I love throwing shade. That does not make me an umbraphile. No, it's somebody who chases eclipses.
Oh, there you go. That's shade.
Eye.
Sure, of course.
Yeah, usually solar eclipses. Not a lot of folks chase lunar eclipses for reasons that will become clear shortly.
Momentarily.
But if you chase solar eclipses, you're typically referred to as an umbraphile.
Love it.
I didn't know that.
Got to be a small club.
Well, yeah. How many of them do you think there are? Give or take, like umbraphiles.
I think there's you, and I think your wife puts up with you.
Here's what's crazy. First of all, the latter part of that is not true. She barely puts up with me. Let me tell you, there's like, I always wonder why in her purse there's a folded up envelope and it says divorce papers on it. I'm like, why do you carry that around? Her side's already signed.
Dear Laura Wasser, it's already pre-written.
Totally. Oh, fuck. I invite Laura to every birthday party. No, she's mine. She's mine.
You always give her a 20. Always give her a 20.
Totally. Technically, I've paid her.
Conflict of interest.
It is estimated there's somewhere between 200 and 500 of these Umbraphiles worldwide, which I thought was a very low number. I would have thought thousands of people, but
sure.
There's 8 billion people out there. How are there only...
Yeah, that's amazing if that's true.
Yeah, right?
I mean, you must have to do something to qualify as an Umbraphile.
I think you have to go to a bunch of these. You have to go to a bunch of eclipses. You have to go attend them. This woman did a survey of some of these Umbraphiles, and the total number of eclipses seen by the Umbraphiles was between 0 and 29. And I'm like, how are you an Umbraphile if you've seen 0? Like, what is the...
Yeah, 0 doesn't really seem like you'd qualify.
You would think even at 1, you're just like most of the population.
You're an Umbra hobbyist.
Yeah, barely. You're like, you're the guy that happened to end up in the path of totality on accident.
By the way, in accident, I'm going to end up in the path of totality.
No, you're going to be on the edge of totality. You're not actually going to be in totality.
I'm close.
You're close. You literally, but where you're going, you're going to literally run out of land. So you either have to get on a boat.
We're going to be at 98% coverage.
Which is not 100%. It's close. Not 100%.
Well, you are good with the math. I had not realized this was your strong suit. You just did that in your head so fast.
Not that I want to, pardon the pun, throw shade, but I will literally be in the fucking shade of the fucking moon while you're out basking around.
Well, because you're actually intentionally going there. I'm not intentionally
with
going
your 8% of the sun. I think you are. I think you just missed the mark. That's really what I think's happening.
I'm going to a birthday party. You're going to an actual viewing of the
eclipse party.
Eclipse, yeah.
Yeah, where it might be overcast, where there's a 39% chance of it being overcast. We'll see how that.
Oh no, is that true?
Yeah, I looked at the data for that area.
Will it still get dark if it's overcast?
Well, yeah, it'll get dark, but it'll just be like more cloudy.
Modestly more cloudy.
I'll tell you, I'll be honest. If it is overcast on the day after all the planning and prep I've done for this, if it's overcast, I'm going to just be drunk by the time the eclipse happens. Because
I'm sure.
What the fuck's the point? I'll probably end up trying to figure out a way to get out or charter a plane or some other horse shit. But okay, if you think about these self-described Umbraphiles, right?
Yeah.
How many eclipses do you think the record holder of eclipses has seen in their lifetime, in real life? Or as my kids say, for real life?
It can't be in the hundreds.
Okay.
I mean, that's my guess. It's got to be less than 50.
Less than 50. All right. Well,
how many happen within the course of, 100 years?
You get an eclipse about every 18 months, give or take.
Okay.
On average. So a year and a half.
But then you got to travel to it.
You got to travel to them. Some of them are out in the middle of fucking nowhere, like literally nowhere.
So you got to be...
Remember, 70% of the planet's water.
You got to have some means because you got to be able to leave your day job to go travel to this thing.
So someone's got to cover your shift at the Starbucks. Mm-hmm. As of 2017, so granted that's 7 years ago, but the latest data that I could find, the record was about 33. And interestingly, all of them were New Yorkers. But 33 is kind of amazing, right? At some point...
Why New Yorkers? Because they have money to burn or because
I assume? I don't know. But wouldn't you think after like...
Because there's no more eclipses over New York than there are over any place else. They have to travel.
Yeah, you would think they don't get a separate set of eclipse rules there.
Right.
You would think at around 5, you'd be like, I've seen it.
I've seen darkness before.
Like maybe 10, like after 10.
Look, this is a manual eclipse. I'm putting my hand over the sun. It's gone. Whoa, the sun's gone. Now it's back.
I've done it. Look at do all sorts of magic tricks. Within this small group, 2 of them supposedly had experienced the longest totality ever viewed from a civilian aircraft at 9 minutes and 23 seconds, which is pretty good. Like if you fly in the path.
They had to be really flying fast.
Well, yeah, you want to stay in it, you got to stay in it.
Yeah.
Because it moves pretty quick. The way they did this, they rented a private jet and then flew over sort of a 1 kilometer wide patch of the North Atlantic in order to achieve that.
Got it.
These same folks, although have some grumpiness, and I thought this was some fun color, one of those record holders missed one of the total eclipses in Eastern Europe in 1968 because Russia had invaded Czechoslovakia. And the guy said it still bothers him to this day.
Well, yeah.
He missed it.
Don't wreck my eclipse viewing.
Right? And then another one was missed by the same folks in Antarctica in 1985 because they couldn't find a plane or an icebreaker to take them into the path of totality, which is also kind of fantastic, where they're like, you're going to die.
You have too much time and money on your hands.
We're not going to do this. Okay, check this out. I can actually tie this my little segment here on eclipses into my episode from 2 weeks ago. Check this out. In 1973, the French Concorde prototype, so this is serial number 001, was modified with rooftop portholes, or as I call them, sunroofs, for solar eclipse observation mission in June of 1973. Right, so this is at the end of the French testing program for the plane.
How expensive is it to put
Concorde
windows on the top of the
you
plane?
Already fucking
it's got to be
a lot of gold
fortune.
cougarants. Like, what does it matter?
Yeah, sure.
So another couple million pounds or francs, whatever the fuck they used back then.
Okay.
They put some observational instruments on board, and then they flew the aircraft across Africa for 74 minutes of totality.
That's cool.
74 minutes. That's insane. Yeah. Kind of cool. One of the scientists who was on board was this guy, Donald Leibenberg. He had previously flown on some of the Los Alamos scientific laboratories. They had these NC-135s. These are planes that flew from like 1965 to 1980, based on all the solar eclipses. They would go in the path of totality to try to measure the sun, because you get an awesome opportunity to observe the sun, at least the edges of the sun, in a total eclipse.
Right. You see things you don't get to see otherwise. Right?
That plane, by the way, I mentioned this on the Concorde episode, that plane, the actual plane with the portals and its like eclipse livery, is displayed at the Le Bourget Air and Space Museum, which is pretty cool.
I knew it would be somewhere.
It is somewhere. Well, one of them didn't make it, but actually no, one got scrapped too. A couple didn't make it. Anyway, that's not this episode. Why do you think people do this? Why do you think people go after these eclipses and become these Umbraphiles? Like, well, what's the point?
Because there are quirks in human brains all over the place that make them do certain crazy things.
Okay.
There are bizarre things that makes these people want to jump out of airplanes with parachutes, and these people want to go dive down 200 feet below sea level, or whatever. I mean, we all have these weird things that we like.
Basically putting Umbraphiles in the same category as like scratch-off ticket buyers. Yeah. That's basically what you're saying. Like if you play the lotto, you're just weird.
Have some weird thing. I mean, there's a lot more scratch-off ticket buyers, but yes.
Well, for now, what if we do the Umbraphile total solar eclipse scratch-off? Cross those two Venn diagrams. Let me tell you, there's some overlap. I think it's more than that. And that's actually what's driving me to do it. I've never seen a total solar eclipse. I've never been in the path of totality. Yeah. And that's what's driving me to do it this year. Kate Russo is this clinical psychologist. So she's authored 3 books about the psychology of eclipse chasers.
Wow. Talk about a specialty psychologist.
Right. Well, yeah, she's written it for those 200 people, right? She's like written 3 books for those 200 people. She witnessed her first total eclipse in 1999 in France, ironically. Her quote was, "There's a whole roller coaster of emotions that happen, and these emotions are really quite intense." Mm-hmm. She said that awe is at the central part of the eclipse experience, but there's something that she's termed, quote, primal fear. And she says it's this eerie feeling in the environment. This sort of primal part of your body are picking up these like feelings that aren't quite right in the natural order of the world. If you think about it sort of at your DNA level, you've likely never experienced the sun just going away for 5 minutes, right?
Turning off.
And then just coming back.
Sure.
Now, there's of course, this great philosophical argument that there's nothing you can do to prove the sun's going to come up tomorrow, right? You just have to sort of believe. You can't, there's no way to know that it's going to happen. Bill Kramer, so he's this freelance computer programmer who runs eclipse-chasers.com. I don't know who has Eclipse Chasers with no fucking dash, but he's got the one with the dash in it. He organizes viewing expeditions, and he said, quote, "The total solar eclipse, it's like the eye of God is staring down on you from the sky." I think it's really fascinating. Now, I'll report back in a couple weeks after we've gone to the eclipse and we do another episode, but it seems like there's this common, this is Kate Russo talking, talking. This commuting factor for these eclipse chasers is a strong desire for experiences over sort of material possessions, right? That's one thing she sort of concluded.
Well, sure, because they're going to give up all their material possessions to go see this thing.
Exactly. Yeah. As it turns out, you're like, well, I don't really like that bedroom set. I want to go.
What's your hotel bill in Texas going to be there?
Oh,
it's got to be a fortune.
So, funny about that, by the way. So I booked a really nice resort. We got a bunch of people going. We have this awesome.
Sure.
This house might have a 3-story indoor slide. There's a 3-story tall indoor slide.
How many of there are you going?
We're going to have almost 40 people there, I think.
Oh, that's fun.
You would look at that and go, well, okay, yeah, you got kids. You booked the slide for the kids. Fuck that. I booked it for me and my friends.
I was not fooled.
I guarantee you, me and my friends go down that thing at least 10 times as much as the kids. The kids will go down like 3 times.
The kids have limited hours when they're allowed to go on the slide. Yeah, exactly. The rest of it's
I'm sure there's going to be like beers delivered down this thing inside me and outside of me. But what's funny is, I expected there to be a price hike because it's totality. It happens, only once in a while, yada, yada, yada. And we saw about a 50 to 60% price hike on whatever the daily rates are. What's funny, though, is I happened to check this past week and now prices have crashed.
Because nobody's going
because
you're going to have overcast weather.
Yeah, exactly. Like they watch the updated LA story too, and it's just clouds everywhere. So
I hope that doesn't happen. I hope you get clear skies.
Let's go back to basics. We talked about eclipse chasers. What is an eclipse? I want to talk about the types that there are and like what's actually happening.
We're blocking out the sun's rays with either the moon or the earth.
How often does it happen? I sort of alluded to this earlier.
I've heard every 18 months is what you said.
So here's what's interesting. And I've
already in the episode we're issuing errata.
No, well, yeah, but no. Let's be more. I'm going to be more specific. These alignments occur approximately every 6 months during what is called,
oh, wow.
Listen to this. It's called, quote, the eclipse season. It's actually called the eclipse season.
I didn't know there was a season.
I didn't either. This is what's interesting. It happens in the new moon phase for solar eclipses and the full moon phase for lunar eclipses, which makes sense because the moon has to be new, meaning it's between us and the sun in order for it to be a solar eclipse and vice versa for a lunar eclipse. It gets really complicated because both the Earth's orbit around the sun is elliptical. The moon's orbit around the Earth is elliptical. Also, the moon's orbit around the Earth is not coplanar, right? So it's not on the same plane as Earth.
Right,
it's off by about 5 degrees, which, by the way, I always thought it was way more than that. Turns out it's actually only about 5 degrees. So you need, and pardon the pun here, the planets to align in order for this to happen. So this happens typically when the moon's orbital plane is closest to the plane of the Earth's orbit. So that's how this has to work, right? It has to sort of like align. What types of eclipses are there? Because I'm going to give you a hint. There's more than one solar and lunar eclipse. If you had to guess, how many types do you think there are?
Oh, I'm amazed there's even more than the 2.
It's nuts. Now, once you get into it, it's kind of cool. And I think with this eclipse coming up,
the moon gets in the way and the Earth gets in the way. I don't know what else you could have.
It's not that simple. Okay. In order to understand, let's start with lunar eclipses. In order to understand lunar eclipses, there's 2 concepts you need to understand, 2 words. One is umbra, how we started this episode, which is Latin for shadow. That's the innermost and the darkest part of a shadow behind an object, right? Where the light source is completely blocked by but you would think of as an including body. So in this case, for a lunar eclipse, it's the Earth. And then you've got this point of shadow behind the Earth where there's effectively no direct sunlight hitting it. That's the umbra. Then there's the penumbra.
Okay.
Penumbra. So umbra with a pen in front of it. Penumbra.
You say that like well, sure. Yeah, right, CJ. Of course, there's the penumbra.
So that's, you're an English major. You know Latin.
I can break the 2 words apart, yes.
I think it's paini. I don't know how to pronounce. I don't know Latin. But it means almost or nearly. Yeah. So that's the region where only a portion of the light source is blocked. So if you look at, and I'll put a link for a drawing in the notes, but you basically have this area behind the Earth. The sun is much, 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 much bigger than the Earth.
Oh, is that right?
It's just a touch bigger.
Wow. Again, with the astronomy
like
lessons.
12%.
Yeah, cool.
So there's this spot behind the Earth where you have no direct sunlight. And then there's this other sort of like these wings where you've got a little bit of light, but not the full light of the sun. That's the penumbra.
My son would give you a detailed explanation of that involving ray tracing.
Yes. Yeah. If he's a ray tracer, this is straight out of ray tracing.
Big ray tracer.
For sure. The penumbral lunar eclipse, right? That's when the moon is, big surprise, in the penumbra. Okay. There's no part of the moon in the actual umbra, not in the darkest part. And you end up with something that's like around 70%.
You get a dim moon.
Yeah, you get a dim moon, exactly. Yeah. You need about 70% of the moon's diameter has to be in the penumbra in order to even notice it, which is kind of nuts, right? So if less than that, if only half of it's in the penumbra, you don't even really notice. Yeah. Then you have a partial lunar eclipse. So that's where a little more of the moon now has gone into the umbra, and you're in the umbra and the penumbra. Now, the moon's average orbital speed is about 1 kilometer per second, which means that these sort of lunar eclipses or totality can only last up to about 107 minutes. So roughly speaking, 2 hours or so. the total time between the first and last contacts of the moon's limbs with the Earth's shadows could be as long as about 240-ish minutes.
Okay.
A relatively long period of time, right?
Yeah.
Now, there's also this total lunar eclipse, which is, I think, when people think of lunar eclipse, they think of the total lunar eclipse. That's where the moon entirely passes into the Earth's umbra.
The moon goes dark.
Does it? That's a good question. As it's moving into the umbra, you've got the curved edge of the moon is still being hit by direct sunlight, which causes the rest of the moon to appear comparatively dim. And this is a really interesting effect. The moment the moon enters a complete eclipse, the entire surface will become more or less uniformly bright. Later, as the moon's opposite limb is struck by sunlight, the overall disk will again become obscured. And it's because, as viewed from the Earth, the brightness of the lunar limb is generally greater than that of the rest of the surface due to reflections from the many surface irregularities within the limb. So because it's an irregular body, right, the edge of the moon, you get this weird effect. This is a similar effect to if you have like a velvet fabric over a convex curved surface.
Yeah.
And then when you look at it, it appears to be darkest at the center of the curve. And that's the same effect happening on the moon, which I never put those two things together, but it makes perfect sense when I read this.
Yeah, sure.
You'll also see this with any planetary body with little or no atmosphere. So like Mercury, for example, when viewed opposite from the sun. Okay, then you have this central lunar eclipse, which is just a total lunar eclipse when the moon passes right through the center of the Earth's shadow. And that's the relatively rare version of this because you need the moon to go right through the center of the umbra in order for this to happen. There's this interesting, not really an eclipse type, kind of categorizes an eclipse type. It's really more of a perspective of the viewer. So there's something called a selenion, or a selenial helon, same thing. It's also called a horizontal eclipse. This is super cool.
How does that work?
This occurs when both the sun and an eclipsed moon can be observed at the same time.
Oh, sounds impossible.
It does sound impossible, right? When I first read this, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. That's like a George Lucas Star Wars render thing,
Yeah,
right?
that's wrong.
No, it can only be observed just before sunset or just after sunrise, right? When both bodies will appear just above the opposite horizons at nearly opposite points in the sky.
At extremes.
Well, but listen, there's even more to it. Typically, an observer on Earth is located on a high mountain ridge where you get a false sunrise or a false sunset at the same moment, right? Because basically you're seeing around, because of the atmospheric refraction, you're seeing around the object.
Right.
I didn't even know this was fucking possible, but now I'm like,
yeah, exactly.
Kind of got to add that to the list at some point. Okay, so that's lunar eclipses. Solar eclipses, which I think is more timely here since we got one coming up. You basically have four common types that you'll hear folks talk about. You have a total eclipse, which is when the disk of the sun is fully obscured by the moon. This is the one that happens on average about every 18 months, right? And the sort of dark silhouette of the moon completely obscures the bright light.
They like this because they can observe the corona. They can observe the special observation of the sun you can't normally see.
Yeah, so you get this sort of faint corona. Now, during any of these total eclipses, totality, so where you're in the full shadow of the moon, occurs at best in only a narrow track on the surface of the Earth. And that narrow track is called totality.
And that's what I'm not going to be.
That is what you're not going to be. You're going to be near.
When I'm in Cabo, I'm not going to be in totality.
No, close doesn't really count.
I'm going to be in 98 percentality.
Yeah, that's going to be great. No, that's, first standard deviation to the right, man. You should be really proud of it.
Especially as this happened by chance.
You get I think you get a participation trophy. I think you get a
Thank you.
Total solar eclipse, almost total solar eclipse.
Sure.
Okay, so that's a total eclipse. You have an annular eclipse. Do you know what that is?
No.
Those happen once every sort of year or two. And that's when the sun and the moon are exactly in line with the Earth, but the apparent size of the moon is smaller than that of the sun.
Okay, got it.
So the sun appears as a very bright ring or annulus around the dark disk of the moon. We had one of these back in October. So what's interesting about that is the moon doesn't stray too far away from Earth, right? It is a elliptical orbit, but it's just enough so that it doesn't fully obscure the sun, which is crazy how close those tolerances are. And I'll talk about that more here in a second.
Yeah.
Okay, then you have a hybrid eclipse. Did not know this existed until I did this episode.
It's both gas powered and electrical.
It's both, and it gets a little sticker so it can go in the carpool lane on the 405.
It's a hybrid eclipse.
HOS.
That's the car I was looking at last week. Was the hybrid?
Was the
eclipse.
moon?
No, the hybrid eclipse.
The hybrid eclipse.
Nice.
There was a car called the Eclipse. It was made by Mitsubishi. So a hybrid eclipse is when a eclipse shifts between a total and an annual eclipse. How crazy is that? So there's at certain points on the surface of the Earth, it appears as a total eclipse, whereas at other points, it appears as an annular eclipse.
That's wild.
The tolerance is that tight,
Right.
Those are comparatively rare. Those do not happen often. Now, a partial eclipse, these occur about twice a year. This is sort of every 6 months. This is when the sun and the moon are not exactly in line with the Earth and the moon, and you get a partial sort of obscurity. The partial eclipse is what can be seen from a large part of the Earth outside of the track of the annular or total eclipse, right? You don't have to be in totality.
Sure.
And that's what you're going to see. You're going to see the partial eclipse, not the total eclipse, but just...
Are you putting me down?
No. I just wanted to be clear that you're only going to see part...
Are you lessening my experience?
92-ish whatever percent of the 100%. 98%. Yeah, so that 2%, I'm going to be in the 2%ers, I guess. Another interesting fact about this on partial eclipses, again, something I did not know. Partial eclipses are virtually unnoticeable in terms of the sun's brightness, as it takes well over 90% coverage of the sun to notice any darkening
because the sun's really bright.
Holy fuck.
Yeah.
What other light source can you block out 90% of? What's even more nuts, and this is what's going to suck for you. So you're at 98%, right?
Yeah.
Even at 99% coverage, it's no darker than civil twilight. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
You've blocked out...
It's a bright sun.
You've blocked out 99% of the sun, and it's basically like dusk. Holy shit, that thing has a lot of energy in it, doesn't it? Where can you see these from? I've already alluded to some of this.
Your house.
There's 2 places you can see them from. My house is one.
Everywhere else.
Basically. A total lunar eclipse you can see from anywhere on the night side of the Earth, right? And if you think about that, it makes obvious sense. It's in the darkness of the Earth. You're on the dark side of the Earth. You can see that it's an eclipse. And they, as I mentioned, they usually last up to, about 2 hours. Solar eclipses, though, are the opposite. Much, much smaller portion of the population could see these. Now, if the moon was in a perfect circular orbit and it was in the same orbitable plane as the Earth, there would be a total solar eclipse once a month at every new moon, right? Which would be kind of boring.
Well, that makes sense. Sure.
Like if you just saw it, you're just like, oh, it's new moon. Like there it goes.
Right.
But because it's tilted at 5 degrees tilt, that shadow usually misses the Earth.
Right.
And that's why those only happen sort of in, at least 2 up to 5 solar eclipses per year. No more, 2 of which can be a total eclipse. That's like the actual math of how this works. Of course, the reason I feel like I might be stating the obvious here, but I never know with you. The total eclipses are more rare because they require the precise alignment, right? You have to have the sun and the moon and the Earth all precisely aligned.
Perfectly aligned. Sure.
And now, as I mentioned earlier, there's one on Earth every 18 months. They recur at any given place only once every 360 to 410 years.
Wow.
That is a long time to wait between eclipses in one place, right? Now, what do they look like? This is... I think kind of cool. Your lunar eclipse, when the moon is totally eclipsed by the Earth, right? Yeah. It takes on a reddish color. So you said earlier it disappears. It doesn't actually disappear. It takes on this red color. Do you know why? Why does the moon turn red?
Atmosphere.
Yeah, the atmosphere. So it's in the dark. So there's no direct sunlight hitting it, right? So it's all light being refracted by the Earth's atmosphere, and you're getting just the red light from that, the Rayleigh scattering effect, right? All that blue light has been absorbed out. It's the same reason you have a sunrise and a sunset that's sort of more orangish red. I never knew that. It makes perfect sense.
Not sort of, way more.
Yeah,
way more red.
Yeah, totally. Now, solar eclipses are a little bit different, and this is part of what is really fascinating to me, and probably one of the most interesting things that came out of my research on this. Roughly speaking, the sun's distance from the Earth is about 400 times the moon's distance from Earth.
Okay.
The sun's diameter is about 400 times the moon's diameter.
Which is perfect.
It just happens to be almost perfect. And because those ratios are approximately the same, that's why you get this effect of them being about the same size when they cross over. From Earth, approximately, you're looking at about a half a degree of arc in angular measure of the diameter of both.
That's amazing.
Those tiny fluctuations of how far the moon is from the Earth makes a big difference, which is why you go from these total eclipses to the annular eclipses because of the distance, right? It's that close. It's kind of nuts to realize how close that is, and just we happen to have this.
Right.
Okay, and then one last thing I wanted to cover on this I thought was pretty cool, and the sort of technical aspects of the eclipse. You have several contacts. They call them contacts during a total solar eclipse. The first contact...
Tell me what a contact means.
So it's basically when, from your perspective on Earth, when you see the moon...
First shadow touching the moon.
Yeah. So the first contact is when the moon's limb, its edge, is tangential to the sun's limb. So basically like when the two just start touching.
Yeah.
The second contact is starting with what they call Bailey's beads, and that's caused by the light shining through the valleys on the moon's surface, and you get this sort of diamond ring effect. It's
that's cool.
Super cool. It basically looks like you have these this exploding ring of light around the moon, and it's because of the surface irregularities on the moon. Then you get totality, so darkness, and then now you have an unwinding of the same thing. So the third contact is as it's moving away, the moon shadow is moving away from...
First light appears.
Yep. well, you get that diamond ring, and then your fourth contact is when the moon leaves the sun. That whole thing for us, where we're going to be in just outside of Texas, is going to be about 2.5 hours from edge to edge. Mm-hmm. Our totality will be 4 minutes and 14 seconds, which is an incredibly long time. And I engineered it specifically this way. Down, if you were in Mazatlan, which is where this particular total eclipse makes landfall in North America, you'd be at about 4 minutes, and I think it was like 27 seconds. So I'm only losing 13 seconds of possible totality time here in the great North America. Of course, you're not going to get any totality time because you're going to be at 98%.
98 percentality.
You should call it that. You should get a shirt. I'm going to get you a shirt made that says 98 percentality. It'll be great. So that's like the technical aspects. Do you have any idea how history has sort of observed these? Like how, before we got all this technical understanding, like what we thought as a civilization of solar eclipses?
God was angry at us and he turned out his shining light.
That's pretty much the answer on all of these, right?
3,000 different gods, and at various times they were each assigned the ability to turn off the sun.
Totally.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. It was like a timeshare. Everybody paid in. Each god put in 10 grand. The Egyptians saw the eclipse as a sow swallowing the moon for a short time.
Okay, well, they were insane.
Okay. Well, trust me, we're going on a rabbit hole here.
As opposed to the other people who were so rational.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, wait for this one. Wait, other cultures viewed the eclipse as a moon being swallowed by other animals. This apparently was a thing, right? So in the Mayan tradition, it was a jaguar. In China, it was a mythical three-legged toad known as a chanchu. Some societies thought it was a demon swallowing the moon and that they could chase it away by throwing stones and curses at it. Now, think about that for a minute. It actually works. If when you see the sun disappear behind the moon, if you throw rocks at it, it actually will revert it. As it turns out, you can do nothing and it would still revert it too, but that's beside the point. Still. I'm just saying throwing rocks happens to work at making the eclipse reverse. Some Hindus believed in the importance of bathing in the Ganges River following an eclipse because it will help to achieve salvation.
It also helps you not smell so bad.
Yeah, well, I don't know. That river, I think that river in particular is not the cleanest of rivers. Similar to the Mayans, the Incans believed that the lunar eclipse occurred when a jaguar ate the moon, which is why the blood moon looked red. So they took it one step further, right?
Oh, that's good.
Well, wait, it gets better. The Incans also believed that once the jaguar finished eating the moon, it could come down and devour all the animals on Earth. So they would take spears and shout at the moon to keep it away.
Okay.
Now, in my
was this to occupy the children? You were making up these stories just to so the kids aren't afraid of the fact that the sun goes away.
I think you were afraid as fuck. And also, so few people actually witness this. I mean, this would be like every
rare.
fifth generation, right? If you're talking about 300, well, actually, no. Your life expectancy is probably 45 years. And if it's happening every 400-ish years, it's every 10th generation. Yeah. So it's just passed down from story to story to story. And I can guarantee you, had I been born then, I'm the 8th generation, they're like, well, one day the sun goes away. I'm like, it was just cloud cover. What the fuck are you talking about? Just clouds. That's all it was. Now, who gets this the most right? If you could just look back loosely through the ancient eye of humanity, the ancient Greeks believed the Earth was round and used the shadow from the lunar eclipse as evidence.
Oh, that's great.
So +1 to the ancient Greeks. They're like, sure, jaguar, chanchu, sure, yeah, okay. The fucking Earth is round.
They were doing early geometry.
Isn't that amazing? So that was like the gist, like the main points of my little eclipse dance. Mm-hmm. There's some other things I've learned during the research for this that I wanted to share with you and our listeners. One thing is obvious. I think once I say it out loud, a lunar eclipse on the moon is a solar eclipse.
Yes.
Kind of cool when you think about it that way. Right? It has to be. Of course, it has to be. And the occurrence makes the Earth's atmosphere appear as a red ring around the dark Earth. So you actually get this red ring. The red light that's reflecting off the moon is this red ring that you see around the Earth.
Right.
During full moon, the phase when the lunar eclipse takes place, the dark side of the Earth is illuminated by the moon and its moonlight, which is also pretty cool.
If you're on the sun, when the light from the moon is blocked by the Earth, that's a barbecue. You're fried.
Dead. Yeah, you're just dead. You are now back to the atoms that the star gave us. You are now back to, is I think what you've returned to. Now, this might be the most fascinating part of all of my research on this. There's a Unicode character for the lunar eclipse.
Of course there is.
Of course there is, right? It was added in version 15 of the Unicode spec. So this is 2022 for those of you that aren't keeping your Unicode calendar updated.
For the lunar eclipse, but not for the solar eclipse.
Yes. So that got me fascinated, right? And there is no symbol for the solar eclipse per se. When the lunar eclipse symbol was added, there was also a, quote, lot of fortune and an occultation character included. Now, I tried to understand what these meant, but that required me researching astrology, and there are some things I'm just not willing to do for this show or anything else. Like, I'm pretty sure there's some charms dealer in the Brentwood Country Mart that can call in and tell me about retrograde and some other shit and how all this works, and I give zero fucks about all of that.
By the way, you're comfortable researching the dragon eating the moon.
Yes, exactly.
But you get to astrology, you got to draw a line somewhere.
Well, because those people are all dead and gone. No one still believes the jaguar ate the fucking moon. It's history, not modern day belief. Now, look, I love this show, and there are just some deep, dark rabbit holes I fall down researching
You are unwilling to.
And look, I'm here talking shit about astrology, but then I have no problem reading Unicode character request documents. I read the Unicode character request document for the fucking lunar eclipse, and I'm reading this. I'm literally like halfway through this document, and the thing that popped into my head was I was like, man, I need one of those like ropes from Poltergeist to tie around my waist,
and
give you
pull
the other
you back
end
out of the TV, right?
But then I was like, Jeff would just let me go. Jeff would just be like, good luck, enjoy TV land.
Are you kidding? And toss the end of the rope after you.
Totally. You tie the other end to me too, like a loop. It was so funny because I'm like literally trying to figure out astrology. I've got tabs open. I'm looking at astrology pages, and then I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? And then right front and center on my screen is this Unicode request document written by this dude. And I'm like,
and that you read fully.
Wow. Like,
what year, by the way? What year did we get the Unicode character?
2022.
Can't be that long ago.
Yeah, version 15, 2022.
Gotcha.
Seeing that we are about to have in North America a total eclipse, which is going to be absolutely amazing. And if you're anywhere near the path of totality, if you're in Texas, Oklahoma, up through Indiana, it goes through New England. If you're, even hours away, I would drive to totality. I would do it soon because on the day of, it's going to be a zoo. I'm already getting the county that we're going to. I started following like the sheriff there, and they're already putting out bulletins to the locals to be like, a bunch of idiots are coming here. Don't go out.
Of course.
Like, don't leave. Like one guy said, one post literally said to stock up 2 weeks worth of food. I'm like, 2 weeks?
Okay, no.
We're in and out in a day, folks. Like, what do you mean 2 weeks?
Tell me what day this is. This is
April 8th.
Monday, April 8th.
So I will be, hopefully, in a cloud-free area. I'm going to have a whole bunch of people around me, some of my favorite people in the world, and we're going to watch for a little over 4 minutes the sun disappear into the jaguar's mouth.
That's really cool.
It's going to be super cool. And if you are buying glasses, this is important. If you are buying glasses, I will put a link in the show notes. Do not buy the cheap, shitty glasses on Amazon because it's all that's available. You want ones that are approved. And by the way, don't just trust, like there are literally some brands that have printed approvals on there that are not fucking approved.
Approved by Fred.
So there's the American Astronomical Society, the AAS, and you want them to be on the AAS list. And the AAS is no bullshit. They have literally said, look, we're not adding anybody else to the list. If you could not make your glasses in October,
you're done.
You're not getting added to the list in fucking March, the month before.
Yeah, good for them.
There's still plenty available on Amazon. B&H has a ton left. Best Buy's selling them. Buy from a name brand that's off AAS. I do not want you to lose your eyes.
AAS. Make sure people can understand.
AAS.org. I will put a link also in the show notes, but AAS.org. If you go to eclipse.aas.org, they have all the information you need. Plenty of resources. Go check this thing out. I think it's going to be super cool. I'm really hoping my kids remember this. They're both pretty young, but I'm hoping that they remember this, at least remember us having a good time. I'm also going to cook for everybody too.
Well, they're going to remember you in the house with the slide.
Totally. Exactly.
Yeah.
And the day the sun went away and the jaguar ate the sun.
You'd think they'd remember that.
It's pretty cool. So I'm very excited to be a part of this, and I'm hoping my friends and I all have a good time watching the sun disappear.
I'm looking forward to it. All right, we have to get out of here, but quickly before we do, have you seen or read anything good this last week?
Yes, this is an oldie but a goodie. As you may have noticed, I've already titled this episode Total Eclipse of the Heart, which of course is a fantastic song.
Yes.
There is a band.
Oh, I know this band.
I use the term band super loosely, yes, called Her Torpedo. Do you remember these guys?
You showed me.
I'm going to put a link in the notes. If you do anything on this show, any one thing other than buying the glasses to protect your eyes, click this link.
Give everybody a little more explanation as to what this is.
So these guys are this Norwegian band, and they were known for, I think the only thing that they were really known for is they covered Total Eclipse of the Heart. So this is the Bonnie Tyler power ballad.
Yeah.
They played it using kitchen appliances for percussion, and it is fucking fantastic.
It's like a big freezer he's using as a bass drum.
It's a big chest freezer. Yeah. It's incredible. So these guys like performed this the first time in like the mid 90s. I first found this clip on the interwebs in like the mid 2000s. 2000s, like 2005, I think, off phase.net. Anybody that knows phase.net, please email me because that was a long time ago and I'm a dinosaur. And I remember thinking, oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever seen. Like they're in character. They're wearing like Adidas sweatsuits. They're a mess. Their hair's everywhere. And then as luck would have it, it kind of went like there's some sort of virility, right? Back in 2005, shit going viral was a new thing. And they ended up doing like a coast to coast tour. I think Ford paid for to promote the Ford Fusion or something. And I saw them perform live at the Roxy in LA.
Oh, wow.
I actually saw these guys play sometime around, I don't know, 06, something like that. I think they even played South by Southwest that year. I mean, it was absolutely nuts. Take 3 minutes out of your day and go watch Her Torpedo cover Total Eclipse of the Heart because it is some of the best things the internet has brought us.
That's so cool. Yeah, it is awesome. It's very clever. Great fun.
What about you? What have you seen or read?
I have two things. The first one is is that okay?
I struggled to get one. You've got two.
Well, one's not really a thing. You'll see.
Okay.
One is Shohei Ohtani. He's playing for the Dodgers in March of 2024, so not that long ago because this is March. An ESPN investigation uncovered $4.5 million in wire payments from Ohtani's bank account in Southern California to a bookmaking operation in Orange County.
Okay.
It's under federal investigation.
Yeah.
On the evening of March 19th, Ohtani's translator, the guy who speaks for him so he can speak Japanese and the guy spits out the English, told ESPN in a 90-minute interview that he had asked Ohtani to repay his gambling debts and that Ohtani himself transferred them to the bookie.
But what they don't tell you here is that when he translated, he said $4.5. He didn't translate the million part. He just said, yeah, it's like $4.5. And Ohtani said, yeah, sure, whatever. Here's a $5.
The translator also told this story to the Dodgers clubhouse after a game that day. However, as ESPN prepared to air the interview on the morning of March 20th, Ohtani's law firm, he's not part of a law firm, the law firm he hired, issued a statement reading, we discovered that Shohei has been the victim of a massive theft, and we're turning the matter over to the authorities. And that afternoon, the Dodgers fired the translator who had signed a contract with the team when Ohtani joined. And so my recommendation this week is to see Shohei Ohtani quickly before he's banned from baseball.
I mean, this can't go well for him, right? There's just...
Well, he's got two problems. If the guy actually stole money from him, it's probably the best case scenario for him. Yeah. Or obviously not the best case scenario for the translator.
I'm assuming that's why his law firm is saying that.
If he gambled himself, he's in big trouble.
Oh, yeah.
If he sent the wire intentionally himself to pay off his translator's debts, he's in pretty good trouble too.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's interesting that's still, that MLB frowns upon that, whereas he could just give the money to the guy and be like, I don't know what you're doing with it. Right. And then he pays off his debts and everything's fine.
Well, provided he 1099 the guy or whatever you do.
So I'm assuming the play here is Mizuhara takes the fall. He's an expat. They just send him back to Japan. He goes on his merry way.
And hopefully they give him a big check and he takes the fall. I don't know.
They tried to give him a big check already once. It didn't work out so well.
I don't know how this is going to turn out, but it's just absolutely fascinating. The Dodgers are investigating, the MLB is investigating, and the federal government is investigating.
How much are you paying your fucking translator that he or she is playing around with $4.5 million?
It's a wire payment. Have you ever initiated a wire payment?
Yeah.
There's an enormous amount of checking to make sure you're you.
Totally. Yeah. They want to make sure it goes to the right place because once it's gone, it's gone.
Right.
If you remember the Lazarus episode, once it's gone, you don't get that back. There's no give backsies.
So this will be fascinating to follow. But anyway, I highly recommend you either tune in or get down to Dodger Stadium and watch Shohei Ohtani before anything happens
real
to
quick.
him. Maybe nothing will happen to him, but either way, he is great fun.
What was your second thing? You said you had two things.
Watch. I happened to catch, I've never seen this before, but it was airing on TV late at night. And I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's called the Buena Vista Social Club. Yeah. Basically, Ry Cooder went down to Cuba and found these musicians who were like legendary when suddenly Cuba got walled off from the rest of the world. Yeah. A lot of them, most of them were still alive. Okay. And he made music with them. And Wim Wenders made a film of it. And it's magical. It's stunningly magical. He brought them back and they actually did a concert in Carnegie Hall. The members of the Buena Vista Social Club, many of them ended up then touring and having careers. They were touring the U.S. They were around. Many of them passed away now. This film is 25 years old, maybe a little older. And it's just great. It's absolutely joyous and delightful. And the music is spectacular. If you get a chance to somehow see the Buena Vista Social Club, you will not regret it. And the photography is beautiful too.
How did you stumble across this 30 years later?
Purely by chance, it was on TV.
Oh, really?
And I was like 2 seconds into this going, this is some of the greatest music I've ever heard in my life. What is this? And then I tune in and I'm just like, oh my word.
When you say greatest music, you mean just behind Her Torpedo. Her Torpedo's Small Gap, Buena Vista Social Club, right?
Yes.
I just want to make sure I'm ordering this correctly for our
They
listeners.
didn't have a handicap of trying to play with kitchen
How is that a
instruments.
handicap? That's a superpower.
Okay, sure.
You call it a handicap. I call that fucker playing a GE monogram fridge his superpower.
Buena Vista Social Club. Oh, man, is it good.
I will have to check that out. That sounds super cool.
That is the episode.
Thank you for joining us for all this nonsense, a truly terrible podcast from The Awful Company. Visit us on the web at nonsense.productions. I'm Stu.
I'm Jeff Parker.
If you like this program, please follow, download, subscribe, and like at Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, AntennaPod, iHeartRadio, Spotify, my favorite Overcast, wherever you may get your podcast from.
Podcastindex.org has a list of all the apps that uses their amazing podcast index. It's fantastic. Special thanks to our floor director, Frank Miles.
Thanks, Frankie. We'll be here every Thursday morning for more nonsense. Please join us. Never called that man Frankie in my life.
Never.
Now he's Frankie. Every time I see him, he's Frankie. Frankie Miles. I just noticed something. You've known Frankie Miles for a long time, right?
30 years, easily.
I'm surprised you never called him Frankie Kilometer.
Frankie Kilo. He sounds like he's a drug dealer.
Frankie Kilos. Let's call him Frankie Kilos from now on. That's my new nickname for him. Hey, Frankie Kilos.